Hello and welcome to the Houndwear Dog GPS fence system. I'm going to show you what's in the box, how to use it and set it up, and then run you through some basic training things. So we've got a basic quick start guide. This is going to run you through the general operations of the collar, do's and don'ts, something like sort of mentions how it will not work as well if you are trying to use it indoors, that sort of thing, because it does work off the satellites. You've got a training guide, so this is actually running you through days 1 to 4 that they suggest on how to familiarise yourself and your dog, obviously, with the collar and the boundary. And you've got the user manual. This is actually very useful and quite well written, so do take a look through this first. It's going to help you a lot. Or continue to watch the video. So what have we got in the box? We have got the collar itself, GPS collar. We've got the boundary flags. These are a visual item for the dog so they can sort of see where the actual boundary is. We've got the charging cable. This is magnetic, attaches to the collar magnetically, so you don't have to open a port or do anything like that. Helps with keeping it waterproof and will improve the life of the collar. You have the test light and also doubles as a little wrench to put the prongs on and off and the prongs themselves. And that's it. So I'll run you through how to turn the collar on, how to get it set up initially, and then have a look at training. On the collar itself, you've got 4 buttons. You've got an M, it's a mode button, also it doubles as an on-off button. You've got a pin or a little location button down here. It looks like a little icon you drop on a maps. You've got up and down arrows on the right-hand side. So go ahead, hold it down for 3 seconds, the M button to turn it on, and you'll see the screen light up. Now ideally, when you are first setting it up, you'd like to figure out where your boundary is, where you want to keep the dog contained within, and get to closest to the center point that you can. You want to be outdoors, obviously, to do this. That way you're going to get a good connection to the satellite. You cannot calibrate this unless you have a satellite connection or a GPS connection here above 3. So it's 3 to 5. So you got to wait for about 2 to 3 minutes or so. It says up to 5 minutes. I found it was about 2 to connect to the satellites. Once it has got a signal above 3, what you can do is you press the little pin button to light up the screen, and then you'll hold down the pin button until you see 3 zeros across there. That means you're in the center point, so it's 0, 0, 0. You'll see if you start to walk in any direction, it will start to climb. It is counting in yards. A yard is just less than a meter, I believe, about 0.9, but the distance doesn't really matter on here. What you'll then do, once you've set that center point, is you'll figure out where your boundary is. You're going to have the collar on you and walk out to that boundary. You'll watch the number start to climb up. Once you get to that boundary, that's the distance you're going to have to set the collar to. How to set the collar to that? You'll just press the little icon there again to wake up the screen, and you'll press it once more. It will then flash with the number that it's preset to, and you'll adjust it up and down using this arrow till it matches that number you saw before as you walked out to the boundary. After 5 seconds, it will just set itself, or if you can't be bothered waiting 5 seconds, you can press the little pin icon again and it will set the distance there. Now to test it, what I would do is to attach the little prongs on the back here. So let's do that. That's the next step. Just going to go with the larger, longer prongs. Screw those in by hand. And if you need to nip them up and make them a bit tighter, you can. That's what the little device here is for, so you can nip those up. Now, by default, it's going to be on static. So there are 2 modes. You've got vibration and you've got static. Now, when you exit the area that you've set, the boundary, it's going to always do a beep and a vibration and then a static if it's on the static mode. Or if it's on the vibrate mode, it will just do a beep and a vibration, no static. But to test the whole collar is working, I would suggest set it to static mode. Now to do that, all you got to do is press the M button once to light it up, and then press it again, and you'll see at the very top here, it switches between vibration and static. Now this is an automatic setting, so what happens is when you leave the boundary, it will start at a very low level, beep, vibration, static, and then as you stay outside the boundary, it's going to get louder and more intense. So to test it, walk outside the area, hold this little test light on here. You'll hear the collar beep, vibrate, and then you'll see a little light come up in here. I can't show you that because I'm inside and it doesn't have a GPS signal. So once you're happy that the collar is functioning as it should, you can then put whatever size prongs on it that you want. I just use the longer ones to test because it's just easier to use with the tester. Choose the prongs, if you want to use prongs at all, based on the size of your dog. So longer ones for furry coats and bigger dogs, and smaller ones for smaller dogs. I'm going to take those off for now. Now, in regards to training and getting your dog used to the boundary, what we suggest and what the pamphlet does suggest is it's quite a long thing. It can be 9 to 12 days. But for the first 3 days, you want to start actually familiarizing your dog with the boundary lines. So you've gone around and you've placed these little flags at even intervals around there, so they've got a visual cue. You've put the collar on the dog, you've double checked that it's still functioning, it's got a good signal, all those sort of things, and you've got a lead on your dog as well. So you're bringing them up to the boundary, and just past that boundary mark, you can hear it beep and vibrate, then you're bringing them back, encouraging them with praise and treats, and you're going to be doing that hopefully 15 minutes or so twice a day for about 3 days with the beep and the vibrate. If you then want to proceed and use the static correction as well, you can do that maybe in the following 3 days. Still, I would suggest using a leash to sort of keep them under control when you're doing it, and always lots and lots of reward when they're coming back in that boundary area after hearing the beep and the tone. Now, after that, you can go ahead and do it without a leash, so they can just do some free play and observe. And then you can also do something where if you really want to push it, because 9 times out of 10, they're going to be leaving your boundary because they are overstimulated, they're chasing another animal, that sort of thing. So try and introduce that later in the training. And if they're starting to regress, then you might want to be putting them back on a lead and going back to some earlier steps and bringing them back through. So for those later training sessions, you want to have someone, maybe a favorite family member, walk over the boundary and observe the dog, make sure they stop just before the boundary, even with that stimulation and that desire to want to go out. And then you know that the boundary is working well for the dog. And these might need a refresher every now and again, but generally most dogs put 2 and 2 together. They hear the beep and the vibration, they know they need to come back within that boundary. So that is the GPS boundary collar. It's a fantastic system, and if you've got any issues, just let us know. Thank you.